desperately wanted a bike for Christmas. He asked his mother, but she sighed and said, "We can't afford one, sweetheart. You'll just have to ask baby Jesus." Determined, the boy went to his room, grabbed some paper, and started writing. "Dear baby Jesus, I've been good all year. Please bring me a bike for Christmas." He read it over and frowned. He knew that wasn't entirely true, so he crumpled it up and started again. "Dear baby Jesus, I've been good for the past week. Please bring me a bike for Christmas." Still, something didn't feel right. He sighed and tried one more time. "Dear baby Jesus, if you give me a bike, I promise to be good all year." But even as he wrote it, he knew that was asking too much of himself. Frustrated, he decided to take a walk to clear his head. As he wandered the neighborhood, he spotted a statue of the Virgin Mary in his neighbor's yard. A mischievous idea struck him. He quickly hopped the fence, grabbed the statue, and rushed home. Once inside, he carefully hid it under his bed and grabbed his pen again. "Dear baby Jesus, if you ever want to see your mother again, bring me a bike." A young girl was working on a school paper when she turned to her father and asked, "Dad, what's the difference between anger and exasperation?" Her father smiled. "It's mostly a matter of degree. Let me show you." He picked up the phone, dialed a random number, and waited. A man answered. "Hello?" "Hi, is Melvin there?" the father asked. "There's no Melvin here. You got the wrong number," the man snapped before hanging up. The father turned to his daughter. "That, my dear, was annoyance. Now let's see what anger looks like." He dialed the same number. "Hello?" the man barked. "Hi, is Melvin there?" the father repeated. "Are you kidding me? You just called. I told you there's no Melvin here." The man slammed the phone down. The father grinned. "That, sweetheart, was anger, but now let me show you exasperation." One more time, he dialed the number. The phone picked up. Before the man could shout, the father calmly said, "Hello, this is Melvin. Any messages for me?" It was the first day of school, and a new student, Pedro, the son of a wealthy Mexican telecom tycoon, joined the 4th grade. The teacher decided to start with a history review. "Who said 'give me liberty' or 'give me death'?" she asked. The class sat in silence, except for Pedro, who confidently raised his hand. "Patrick Henry, 1775. "Excellent," the teacher beamed. "Now who said, 'Government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth'?" Once again, Pedro was the only one to respond. "Abraham Lincoln, 1863. The teacher sighed. "Class, you should be ashamed. Pedro just arrived in this country, and he already knows more about American history than you do." A loud whisper came from the back. "Screw the Mexicans." The teacher's eyes widened. "Who said that?" Pedro's hand shot up. "Jim Bowie, 1836. Before the teacher could react, another student muttered, "I'm gonna puke." "All right, who said that?" she demanded. Pedro, without missing a beat. "George H.W. Bush to the Japanese Prime Minister, 1991. The class erupted. One student shouted, "Oh yeah, suck this." Pedro jumped out of his chair, waving his hand excitedly. "Bill Clinton to Monica Lewinsky, 1997. Now in full chaos mode, someone yelled, "You little shit! Say one more word and I'll kill you." Pedro, grinning, "Gary Condit to Chandra Levy, 2001. The teacher fainted. As the class gathered around her, a student nervously mumbled, "Oh crap, we're in big trouble now." Pedro leaned in and whispered, "Saddam Hussein, 2003. The teacher stood in front of the class and said, "Today we're going to do something fun to help us get to know each other better and practice spelling. I want each of you to stand up, tell us your father's occupation, spell it, and say one thing he would give us all if he were here today." Marcy eagerly raised her hand. "My father is a banker, B-A-N-K-E-R, and if he were here today, he'd give us all a shiny new penny." "Very nice, Marcy," the teacher said. "Who's next?" Kevin stood up. "My father is a baker, B-A-K-E-R, and if he were here, he'd give us all a freshly baked cookie." "Wonderful, Kevin," the teacher replied. Then Jeff got up. "My father is an accountant, A-K, no wait, A-C-K, Before he could struggle further, the teacher gently said, "That's okay, Jeff. Sit down and take a moment to think about it. You can try again later." Just then, little Johnny shot his hand up with a mischievous grin. The teacher sighed, but called on him anyway. Johnny stood up confidently. My dad is a bookie, B-O-O-K-I-E, and if he were here today, he'd give us all 20-to-1 odds that Jeff never spells accountant right. Here I sit in English class, the odds say I just won't pass. An F upon my report card feels like swallowing broken glass. It's not that I don't study hard. I've stayed up late at night. But grammar rules confuse me so. I never get them right. Our teacher says, pay close attention, study hard, make sacrifice. But if mice come from a single mouse, why aren't blouses called blice? Plural rules are madness. Add an S and watch it change. Geese instead of gooses, but moose refuse to rearrange. Two ultimatums turn to ultimata. A datum makes some data, so shouldn't a batch of juicy plums be properly called plata? If one octopus is octopi and oxen stand for ox, then why aren't two old rusty trucks referred to as a trucks? And let's not even talk about those silent, lurking letters. Words like gnome and wrist exist just to make us feel unfettered. And what about that golden rule? I before E, they claim. Then why does weird defy the law, yet rain remains the same? The final exam now looms ahead. I hope I'll do just fine. I've prepped and studied every page, line by crooked line. I'm ready now to take the test and face my fate with style. Then I'll escape to somewhere warm, relaxing on an aisle. An 11-year-old Jewish boy was struggling with math. His parents tried everything, tutors, special programs, even hypnosis, but nothing worked. At a friend's suggestion, they enrolled him in a private Catholic school. On his first day, he came home with a serious, determined look. Without a word, he went straight to his room and studied for hours. He only emerged for dinner, ate quickly, then went right back to work. This routine continued for weeks. When report cards arrived, his parents nervously opened his envelope and were stunned to see an A in math. Overjoyed, they rushed to his room. Was it the nuns? His father asked. No. The strict discipline? The one-on-one tutoring? No. The textbooks? The teachers? No. Then what was it? The boy sighed and said, on the first day, when I saw that guy nailed to the plus sign, I knew they meant business. I went on a blind date with a woman I met online. I wasn't expecting much, probably 300 pounds with bad skin. But when she opened the door, wow, she was 5'2", baby blue eyes, strawberry blonde hair, absolutely gorgeous. I couldn't believe my luck. I asked what she did for a living. I teach Sunday school, she said. I'd never dated a Christian girl before, but hey, I'm open-minded, so I took her to dinner. On the way, I lit up a joint and asked if she wanted a puff. Oh, heavens, no, she said. What would I tell my Sunday school children? Fair enough, not everyone's into it. At the restaurant, I ordered a steak, she got the lobster. I picked the second most expensive bottle of wine. When the waitress poured, she shook her head. You don't drink? I asked. Oh, heavens, no. What would I tell my Sunday school children? Dinner was great, the conversation flowed, but I was stumped. What do I do with a girl like this? On the way home, I passed a cheap motel. Figured, what have I got to lose? Want to get a room? I asked. She grinned. I thought you'd never ask. I blinked. Really? What are you going to tell your Sunday school children? She winked. The same thing I tell them every week. You don't need drugs or alcohol to have a good time. A 16-year-old comes home with a brand new Porsche. His parents explode. Where did you get that car? I bought it today, the boy says calmly. With what money? His father demands. I know how much a Porsche costs. Well, the boy shrugs. This one cost me $15. His parents are livid. Who on earth would sell a Porsche for $15? The lady up the street, he says. I don't know her name, they just moved in. She saw me riding my bike, asked if I wanted to buy a Porsche, and I said sure. His mother gasps. She must be mentally unstable. Who knows what she'll do next? Paul, you march up there and find out what's going on. And you, young man, should be ashamed of taking advantage. So the father storms up the street and finds the woman calmly planting flowers in her yard. He introduces himself and asks, Excuse me, ma'am, but did you really sell my son a Porsche for $15? Yes, I did, she replies with a smile. But why? Well, she says, dusting off her hands, this morning I got a call from my husband. I thought he was on a business trip, but a friend told me he actually ran off to Hawaii with his secretary and has no plans to come back. She pauses, then smirks. Turns out he was stranded and needed money. He asked me to sell his Porsche and wire him the cash, but so I did. A 6-year-old and his 4-year-old brother are raking the yard when the older one says, "You know what? I think it's time we learned to cuss." The 4-year-old nods eagerly. "So here's the plan," the 6-year-old continues. "When we go in for breakfast, I'll say something with hell and you say something with ass." The younger brother grins. "Okay." Morning comes and they march into the kitchen. Their mother asks the 6-year-old, "What would you like for breakfast, sweetheart?" He leans back and says, "Aw, hell, Mom, I guess I'll have some Cheerios." He goes flying out of his chair, tumbles across the floor, and sprints upstairs crying, with his mother right behind him, swatting his rear with every step. She locks him in his room and shouts, "You can stay in there until I say you can come out." Then she turns to the 4-year-old. "And what about you? What do you want for breakfast?" she asks, glaring. The little boy gulps and says, I don't know, but you can bet your ass it won't be Cheerios." A country preacher had a teenage son who was reaching the age where he should start thinking about a career. But like many young men, the boy didn't seem too concerned about his future. One day, while the boy was at school, his father decided to run an experiment. He went into his son's room and placed 4 objects on the desk: a Bible, a silver dollar, a bottle of Jack Daniels, a Playboy magazine. Then he hid behind the door and thought to himself, "I'll see which one he picks up. If he takes the Bible, he'll become a preacher like me. What a blessing. If he grabs the dollar, he'll go into business, respectable enough. If he takes the whiskey, he'll be a no-good drunk, Lord help him. And if he picks up that magazine, he'll be a skirt-chasing bum. What a shame." The old preacher waited anxiously. Soon he heard the front door open and his son's footsteps heading toward the room. The boy tossed his books on the bed, then turned to leave, but stopped when he noticed the items on the desk. Curiously, he walked over, studied them for a moment, then made his choices. He picked up the Bible and tucked it under his arm. He grabbed the silver dollar and slid it into his pocket. He uncorked the whiskey